Welcome to Spark Infinity Until It Sticks, where raw passion ignites lasting transformation. Each week, we peel back the layers of creative journeys, exploring the triumphs, struggles, and pivotal moments that shape artists and innovators. From the first spark of inspiration to the breakthrough that finally sticks, we're here to fuel the creative fire that drives us all forward. Get ready to dive deep into stories that illuminate the path from vision to reality. And the quote of the day goes something like this: "The artist's world is limitless. It can be found anywhere, far from where he lives or a few feet away. It is always on his doorstep." Who said that? Paul Strand. Today, we have one of our leaders, actually. He was one of the organizers of Clean Slate. He was the PowerPoint and video tech the day of the event. He was the editor of the comedic series, The Misadventures of Axel Brunson. He's a videographer. He's a photographer, I guess, first and foremost. He's a graphic designer. He's a web designer. He's one of our Spark Infinity leaders, and he is our guest for today. It's Karlo Keet.
Hello.
How you doing, Karlo?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm always good, man. So you had one of the most popular episodes of 2024 on the Creative Excitement Emotion podcast. For those not in the know, pretty much everything we do on this live stream does get rebroadcast on the podcast just at a later date. So eventually this interview will hit the podcast. That'll probably be 2025. But we spoke, I guess, on May 15th. Or at least that's when the podcast was published. So we're here to catch up with you and see how things have been.
It's been a very busy few months. Been working on some freelancing, and then now I'm working for a company doing some graphic design work and a little bit of production. So yeah, things are going well for me on my end.
That's great to hear.
I feel that things are a little more stable now these days. So
yeah, what was the instability like? I think one thing I noticed about 2024, we're very much tempted to call it the year of the holding pattern, and I've kind of geared myself towards creating a video of sorts explaining my experience and just checking to see who else can relate to that whole idea of a holding pattern. But what was that ride like for you?
It was like, I don't even remember where to start. It was like, is there like any relief? Is there, is there like at the light at the end of the tunnel? And yeah, I was just like, sending out resumes and like for work, got interviews, and then, got a lot of rejections. And then all of a sudden I ended up like started working at this one print shop, and then just to tie me over, and then I got an even better offer from a different place, and I jumped on that, and yeah, the rest is history. But it was rough. Like summer, fall, like financially was it was pretty tight, and it was like, if it wasn't for doing like all this energy clearing, who knows where I would be right now. Like during that time, it was also a time for healing. Like it just put me, it's like you said, like the holding pattern, like, okay, well, maybe you should take care of this first. Maybe this is what you need to clear before you can move on to the next step. So I've been doing a lot of the Callahan techniques or thought field therapy, been learning that and applying it on myself. And as a result, I've released a lot of like, blockages since like the summer. And even to this day, I do self-practice almost on a daily basis. And I'm finding it does help with the stress. It does help with the stress, and it does help with any other emotions that are in my field. And yeah, it helps me keep me going during the day.
That energy clearing piece is something I think we wanted to delve deeper into. But first, I want to acknowledge, and it's definitely not to diminish your experience at all, Karlo. I know people who still are presently experiencing financial troubles. I also know people that sent out 1,000 resumes and still didn't get anything. However, they got moved towards something else. They got moved towards freelancing. So it's this weird shift I've been observing this year too, that like I went from, I'm still self-employed essentially, but I have a long-term contract with big tech now, and that's a big change in my life. So I almost went from shaky. It was not really shaky. Like for 13 years, I had very steady work, but it seemed to dry up in a way I've never seen before earlier this year, and I'm in a much better place now. But as you say, it kind of took a few months. It was probably about a 3-month period that was the roughest. Certain actions were taken to get there. But I guess what I'm saying is like lots of people's positions were inverted. So some people who were freelancers ended up becoming employees. Some people who became employees ended up becoming freelancers. Some people who were freelancers ended up becoming entrepreneurs. And it's almost like they got pushed into that direction or moved into that direction, which is really odd, but interesting observation, maybe to delve into. This whole energy clearing piece, I think from what I know about your journey, there's been some coaching You referenced TFT, which I'm also a big believer in, although you kind of have to be consistent to get results with it. Not only that, but it's more effective if you do it in a group with other people or if you do it with another person, generally. So, what was that energy clearing piece about? What was that like for you?
Well, for me, it was like before I even discovered like TFT. Like I've heard of TFT in the past, but never really, I never really paid attention to it. I was like focusing on EFT,
Mhm.
and I was finding
Me
that
too.
I wasn't really getting much results out of it. I was like, I still feel
Hmm.
the same and not really getting anywhere. And then I discovered TFT, and it comes from a place where I was like, oh, I can feel all this like this intergenerational trauma. Like I could feel it in my energy field, like, and even in my cells, I had all this stress and trauma. Like my body was
Yeah.
holding this all in, and I'm like, how do I even release this? Like, how do I like how? Because being a Reiki master and everything, I'm doing some like energy balancing, but there's something missing. There's something missing there. And when someone told me, oh, you should try the Callahan techniques, so I googled it. It's like, oh, thought field therapy. Oh, it's like um, it's like the tapping I was used to do with EFT, but a lot more comprehensive. So I was referred to by a master TFT practitioner. I joined his workshops like for free and did some exercises as a group, and yeah, that definitely helped me out, helped me clear a lot between since I'd say since like late July till now. And yeah, no, I feel like the changes I've received was well, I don't have as much anxiety like I used to.
Mhm.
Like I remember waking up every day with a sense of feeling of dread, and it's like, oh my gosh. If you were to rate that from 1 to 10, 10 being like feeling absolutely dreadful, zero being absolutely calm, I was definitely at a 10 almost every morning. And
Mm.
then doing the energy clearing, I'd say I would be like, some days would be an absolute zero, and other days would be like maybe up to a three, and that's about it. And
Mm.
then if I do feel anything that's off, I'm able to like clear that right away.
So the good news about transferring from EFT to TFT is you do kind of learn all of these meridian pressure points, whatever you want to call them, energetic points here, here, here,
Mm-hmm.
various other locations. So at least the skill set that you learn is transferable. What are your thoughts on this notion that like are you a believer that everybody has some kind of blockage or stuck energy, past traumas, things that are still within their body, even if they're not in their conscious mind?
Oh, I believe everybody has that.
Mm.
Everybody has some sort of blockages, either when they're born, adulthood, or stuff from past lives, or even from generations ago, from either the mother's side or the father's side. So it really all depends. It depends on is this trauma, or is this feeling like is this something that I've experienced in the past? Was there a traumatic event, or was this something that was passed on to me from like one of like the mother or father's side? Maybe as far back as like grandparents or great grandparents or beyond that.
Right. Generational stuff. And then when you say past lives, I think some people might have trouble or just have questions about that. Does that
Mhm.
mean reincarnation in some way, shape, or form? Or how do you wrap your head around that?
I do believe in reincarnation.
Hmm.
I've been told by many people that I'm an old soul,
Mm-hmm.
like a really old soul. So it's like,
Me too.
okay, yeah. So I've been told numerous times from numerous people, different people who are not in the same social circles. Oh, you're an old soul. You're an old soul. I'm like, really? All right. I embrace that. I accept that.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a result, I'm sure over different lifetimes, I've picked up stuff or experienced, events in the past. Like I think in the past lives, you know, I'm just thinking back, like, yeah, I'd say I was like some sort of monk or some
Mm.
sort of like some sort of wizard back in the past life, because I'm into like, like this, like the sci-fi fantasy type stuff. And yeah, now that I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I think I was a monk in the past, or some sort of like wizard or alchemist, something. And then, I try to share my information, and then, you know, then there's like, persecution around that, around that time. And that's probably what happened is that maybe even in the past life, I probably was killed for my beliefs. And then that trauma just, I held on to that trauma in the next, lifetime or two.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
For our viewers and listeners, I encourage you to do your own research. Based on the research I've done, a lot of people might assume that reincarnation comes from Buddhist concepts or perhaps some other religious concept or paradigm. And what I found in my research is that at one point or another, it was also talked about in Christian circles. In what context, I don't know, but Christian reincarnation actually turned up as a term that was once used, and at some point it stopped being used. So that's what I find fascinating about that too.
Yeah, no, I never even thought of Christian reincarnation. It never
Yeah.
really crossed my mind. It was like, oh, when I, when you had reincarnation and Christianity in the same sentence, like, oh, that doesn't mix.
Right. I think
Hmm.
that's how we've all been. Any of us who have had exposure to Christianity, and I went to church for the first 30 years of my life for personal reasons. That's not something that I prioritize anymore. Doesn't mean that I don't believe in something. I think I've been in an exploratory phase for a very long time. But that's the interesting part is like, okay, is this division at work? We saw a lot of division through the pandemic. It was race, it was gender, it was age, it was vaccinated, unvaccinated. However you conceive of that, it was just pitting people against each other. And I wonder if sometimes religion pits people against each other in unhealthy ways as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hmm.
I can see that. No, there have been wars in the name of religion.
Yeah.
That's happened. And it probably still happens today. Like, I don't watch the news. I don't, go out of my way to like watch TV and watch the news. So,
No.
you know, what's really going on out there? That's the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I think to an extent, you have to be willing to dive into it. And like I said earlier, do your research and see what you can figure out for yourself. I don't claim to have the truth cornered in any way, shape, or form. I've just kind of formed some impressions and probably a preponderance of proof towards certain directions. I'm not big on TV either. What you said about war, though, I think there's something inherently weirdly human about war. And I'm not advocating war in any shape or form. I don't like to see it. I don't want it to happen. Yet war has been orchestrated in the name of religion, politics, money, banks, just about anything you can name. More resources, right? Oil, sometimes under the cover of other things like terrorists or whatever. So yeah, there's an aspect of war that is unfortunately part of our imperfect human nature, as it were.
Hmm. Yeah. Been going on for so long, for centuries and millennium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're sort of
exactly.
preserving this weird, delicate balance right now, and all I can hope is that continues, and we actually get smart and maybe eliminate, dismantle nuclear warheads. We don't need those. We got plenty of powerful weapons of mass destruction, as it were, without worrying about weapons of mass destruction. That's another
Hmm.
category. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Might as well weaponize the internet.
yeah. If people wanted to clear their energies, then like, is would you send them towards TFD, or is it just better if they get a coach, if they call up a TFT practitioner? Is it a combination of things? What would you suggest for them?
Yeah, I definitely would have them like, sent to maybe like a life coach
Hmm.
or like some sort of practitioner. Like, I know of a life coach. I know of other practitioners that people can go to, and if they're feeling like, oh, what's there to life? What can I do? What's my purpose? Then yeah, I could send them to the right people.
Nice,
Hmm.
awesome. Yeah, so definitely reach out to Karlo if that's something that you'd like to learn more about. So, I mean, the financial aspect of things is obviously important, whether it's a job or a freelancing contract or entrepreneurship or the life of an artist. Like, I don't have any judgment for anyone. I've probably done all things at this point. I've been an investor, I've been a business owner, I've done self-employed, I've done very little employed, and I'm grateful for that, but it's still part of my experience and it's something I've done. And we talked about the spiritual part of it. One thing that I've wondered about, I think both Joe Vitale, I think he might even have a book, something along the lines of spiritual economy or spiritual money or something like that. And now Kevin Trudeau is talking about releasing a book along those lines. So how do those worlds intersect in your mind?
I think it's the age of discovery, like
Hmm.
how to really like manifest your destiny, how to create your life, the power to create.
Hmm.
Yeah. So before wake up, have breakfast, read newspaper, have your coffee, drive to work, be at your job, do your job, come home, dinner, bedtime, repeat. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just feel like in today's world, that status quo being. I feel like there's a disruption. Like there's a disruption around that. People are like they're doing like their own thing online, either like drop shipping or they'll like, start their own other types of online businesses, like consulting, coaching. It's limitless. Like the
Mhm.
sky's the limit. Depends on how much you want to apply to yourself and how much you want to get yourself out there.
I agree. I think that conventional paradigm has been challenged and is being challenged in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
One of the influences, I wouldn't say the only influence, I wouldn't even necessarily say the leading influence, but one of the influences in all that has certainly been network marketing. They've always underscored and highlighted the importance of having a business or having a side hustle or joining the creator economy or what have you.
Hmm.
And I've always advocated for that direction as well. To me, it sounds weird to say, but I think one of the things that keeps me young is the hustle. If I
Hmm.
didn't have a hustle, maybe I would just get old and I'd be playing video games all day or something. I don't know. I can't even speculate what I would be doing, but I have that feeling that probably wouldn't even try to be as vital
Hmm.
from a health perspective and as from a personal perspective.
Yeah, like if we just remain idle, then yeah, it's gonna catch up, and
Yeah.
then we'll just probably be living like, like a very like docile, sedentary lifestyle, like just inertia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're just on the couch, you're just playing video games. You don't know what's going on out there, or you just sit behind the computer, play like video games all day on your computer and for hours and hours on end, not getting a proper meal and just eating junk food for the rest of the day. And then you wonder yourself, how can I feel so tired and cruddy? It's like, well,
Yeah.
have you seen what you've been eating? Have you seen what
Yeah.
you've been doing lately? You ever go outside? Like,
Absolutely.
do you go you go for walks? Like, those sort of things.
The one thing I do wonder about, and if people love being in the creator economy, I'm not here to
Mhm.
judge. I just sometimes wonder because basically it falls under a few broad categories. It mostly utilizes YouTube and OnlyFans. It's stuff like ASMR. It's stuff like live Twitch, streaming video games. It's stuff like try on hauls and models and all that kind of stuff. And I think in some ways, like you set the expectation of having to show up that way every day or every
Mhm.
week.
Mhm.
It's yes, it's not a job, but it's almost creating your own job and then showing up
Mhm.
and having to be a slave to a completely different audience or some completely different thing. So sometimes I have my questions about creator economy too.
Mhm. Instead of having one boss, you have a million bosses. And
Yeah,
they view your videos, your content on their screens like every day, almost every hour, and yeah, you have to answer to them, not just one person.
exactly. Like as
Mhm.
much as I enjoy making videos and growing my YouTube channel, there's also a part of it where I go, if I was under the gun and under the pressure to try to deliver something people love every single time, it's a different kind of thought process. I'm not saying I won't do it. I'm not saying I'm not going to get there, but uh, uh, yeah, I guess those are the mixed feelings I have about it. And maybe those are some blockages to clear.
Mhm.
To your
There
point,
might be something to discover for yourself there.
yeah, there's no
Yeah.
reason why I can't try it. Of course,
Mhm. Why not?
yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Well, exactly.
Mhm.
I think one other facet that we should certainly delve into today is creativity, and that's one of the reasons why we're here, is because of that creative aspect. I think everyone on the Spark Infinity team has a certain amount of business acumen. They have a certain amount of personal development experience. Everyone's at a different point in their journey, which is totally
Mhm.
fine. I think that's great.
Mhm.
But I think foundationally we're here not just to kind of grow our social media, which in it of itself does not feel like a congruent or necessarily inspiring goal, but we're here because of the artistic community and our own creativity and our own self-expression. So
Mhm.
I'm sure it's been tough for the last few months, but where's your creative journey headed now?
Well, given that I'm using a lot more of like Illustrator, so
Hmm.
I'm getting myself like reacquainted with that application. I've been using it for my client work, but yeah, it's like just brushing up on things. I'm like, oh, I remember, I used to do this. How do I do this again? Like I was using because I'm my InDesign guy. I just used InDesign to like design everything and Photoshop. So I would use just like Illustrator to create logos and a few minor things, and that's about it. And here
Hmm.
I am using it a lot more frequently, and yeah, I'm using Canva less as well. Canva's great. It's great if you want to really put something together like super quickly. And like right
Hmm.
now, I think the direction where things are going would be like UI or UX design. You know,
Hmm.
not just for websites, but for like apps or any other types of like you can use UI or UX. I'd say almost anywhere now. Like
Yeah.
it's like I learned graphic design back in like the mid 2000s, and between then and now, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
And it's the matter of keeping up with the trends. and I'm not the best at that.
Weirdly enough, like I think it's not like UI was not important before this, but right
Mm-hmm.
around the time Windows 8 came out and everything was going flat, right? Flat vectors. And then there was a big, movement towards standardization. And these are the colors you use if you're going to create a flat UI. And I think it's been ever since that point that my attention was drawn to it. And I think many more people were starting to think about that. Like, oh, I guess this is the new trend now, because we were going either in kind of more of an ultra realistic or, the excessive drop shadow, outer glow type direction prior to that. And it definitely got old and it got ugly, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not to say it doesn't have its place in
Mm-hmm.
internet history, at least.
Yeah, you basically described like the late 90s, early 2000s right there.
Yeah.
It's like when you go from like computer graphics from 8-bit to 16-bit, and it's like, oh, let's make it ultra realistic, as realistic as possible. And
Yeah.
now the circle's complete. Now you see like games or graphics that are like very pixelated 8-bit on purpose, because that's like the trend, one of the trends right now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Minecraft and games like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, like, oftentimes I'm drawn more to that, not because it's necessarily always a superior game, but because it reminds me of a time that was a little bit simpler. And also just because a game does have better graphics doesn't really seem to make it better a lot of the time. Some
Mm-hmm.
games are absolutely driven by and are complemented by the graphics. I think
Mm-hmm.
Valve has a great history with that, with Half-Life
Mm-hmm.
and Half-Life 2 and Portal and all those other
Mm-hmm.
titles that they managed to purchase or have
Mm-hmm.
developed. But that's a rare example. Not every single developer has paid attention to that side of things, like releasing a good game or just visual presentation. And I know there's so much that goes into games, and it's not exactly easy to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's focused too much on the visual side and not enough on the gameplay side, it's kind of like, well, that was pretty to look at, but where was the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when things were simple, like you just hit the cartridge or the disc, you just pop it in there, turn on the console, you're in.
Yeah,
And nowadays, for quite a while now, you play your game and all of a sudden now, loading update. Like
yeah,
that seems like the trend now. It's been like that for over a decade now. Where you get the old consoles back in the day, you just plug and play, put the cartridge in, you're set. Now it's like, okay, we'll put this update on, we'll install this.
yeah,
Please wait, an hour and 30 minutes. And then by the time the console's updating, then okay, I'm gonna install my game. And then by the time you load your game, it's like now installing updates. So that's probably another 30 minutes or 45. So
yeah,
you're probably waiting a good 2-3 hours before you can actually enjoy your game these days.
yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's somewhat controversial, but I would say
Mhm.
For me, Final Fantasy 13 falls under that category of, oh, it looks so pretty, but where was the game? The game
Yeah.
got forgotten. Final Fantasy
Hmm.
14, upon its initial release, they,
Hmm.
I mean, Squaresoft even ended up apologizing for that because it was so underdeveloped at that point. And
Hmm.
then even Final Fantasy 15, it became this massive open world. But again, where was the game? So
Yeah.
Square Enix has had this problem with Final Fantasy for a long time. It's
Hmm.
not something new. It's just a problem that's gotten exacerbated and gotten worse since about Final Fantasy 8 and progressively worse and worse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Because I'm only familiar with Final Fantasy VII. I tried a demo 8 like I don't know 25 years ago, and it
Didn't
seemed
impress you.
okay. It was
Yeah.
okay.
I played it. I felt like it got good around disc 3, but it
Mm.
comes back to that age old question: why can't this good be game now, or why can't this game be good now? You know, rather than having to wait until disc 3. And even then, disc 3 is kind of it's so easy to make fun of the events that
Mhm.
take place, and a little hard to buy in, a little hard
Mhm.
to suspend reality and buy
Mhm.
into what's happening. So it has
Mhm.
that problem. Since
Mhm.
about Final Fantasy X, it's had the problem of identifying who the protagonist actually is.
Mhm.
10 focuses on this character.
Mhm.
We all initially called him Titus, and then the Japanese name came out and everyone said Titus, which
Mhm.
I say is still wrong. There's no S in there, so his name is Tita. Okay,
Mhm.
everyone? You heard it here first.
Mhm.
His name's actually Tita. But
Mhm.
it's just the focus is on Yuna. That story is about Yuna. It has nothing to do with Tita. And he's just like
Okay.
an annoying kid in the whole thing. So since 10, Final
Um.
Fantasy has had that problem of who's the focus, who's the main character here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't know after 7. That was it for me. So I
Gotcha.
couldn't tell you. So, but
Weirdly enough, I haven't even played 13. I just watched enough reviews and stuff to know.
or bring back Ultima.
Oh God, I don't know if there's any way to redeem what they did with the Ultima series. And
Yeah.
it's not like every one of them was good leading up to Ultima 9, but Ultima 9 was a hot mess, man.
I heard that even back then, it was hard to run Ultima 9 on
Yeah.
even a high-end machine back then. It was still struggling.
You had to get a patch, and I think even then it was hard to get and hard to find, and it didn't come out for months.
I wonder if it's on Steam. That'd be funny.
I think there's some Ultima games there. I think Ultima 8 was where the isometric platforming came in. So that was pretty funny.
That's where you want to create the idea of the isometric platform racing game.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you came up with the idea.
Yeah.
It's already plenty hard in Ultima 8. How much harder would it be with a race car or speed car?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be funny. People do have they do create like homebrew games for like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis. So why not do it on like older hardware? Like there's that Nintendo, that development platform that for creating homebrew games. Like just use that and create the isometric racing game and see what happens.
Absolutely. Could just mess around with an existing engine. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what most companies are doing anyway with game development now.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this is too realistic. Let's just create an 8-bit game and see what happens. And I see some of these games. It's like thinking to myself, yeah, it's definitely 8-bit, but these sprites are awfully big. I don't even know if the original hardware could support this. But it's pretty cool though.
Well, yeah, there's that whole Kaizo Mario trend, of course. And then Nintendo said, okay, we kind of need to capitalize on this because we're tired of the hacks. And that's just the way Nintendo thinks, I think. On a business level, it's always like that. So then came along Mario Maker and sequels to Mario Maker, of course, which I love. It's actually a lot of fun to make your own levels and play other people's levels. Although there's almost too many troll levels to keep playing other people's levels some of the time.
I've seen that on Facebook. I'm not sure why it shows up on my feed, but I keep getting these Super Mario videos with these insane levels where you have to like time it so well just to get through. If I try to make attempts, I'll probably be dead in 5 seconds.
I guess it's a test of your Mario skills, and some people like it for that. But I also feel like it's just rote memorization after a while, or muscle memory. So then it's like if you're going to stimulate muscle memory, you could learn an instrument too, play guitar or play piano.
Well, I'm not 10 anymore, so I probably lost that muscle memory from Mario. So even if I was to play it again, I'd probably be like, I don't know where to start.
Oh, really? I think I still got it. I think I would still be able to do it.
Oh, Mega Man 2, I still have that. I still play that.
And that's a challenging game in different parts. Of course, once you get the Metal Man weapon, there aren't too many enemies you can't beat.
It's that part of the Quick Man stage with all the beams you got to avoid. And I can do that. I can do that without using like the flash stopper.
Yeah, you can use the flash stopper. I think
I do it without it.
Nice. I've done it for sure. I remember, but it's not easy.
I've done it numerous times. I can figure it out.
Because in later Mega Man games, they made it a little easier. Not a lot easier, but a little easier.
Yeah. Wow. That just brings back so many memories.
Definitely. To go back to something though, I do like this idea of trying something new creatively, and I'm finally getting around to sweep picking arpeggios on the guitar. In isolation, people sort of assume I can do it, and it's true. Like if I had to pull one out of my butt, or if I had to practice one up for a song, I always pulled it off. But it's not something that, sweeping across 6 strings and major and minor and blah 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 was not something that I trained myself on that much. So I'm finally getting around to it. And there's all these YouTube videos showing if you practice for 90 days straight, you pretty much got it. So I'm on, I don't know, I think I'm on close to 2 weeks on that journey now. So day 12 or day 13 or something like that.
Okay.
I have some practice behind me. So I think I'm already starting to feel a little more comfortable, but it's not there yet. So it's one of those weird things. Like if you just have the discipline to do it for 90 days, it comes together. It's just so weird. So weird.
Yeah. Just keep at it. It's all repetition. Get better at it. It's like anything else. I think to myself, oh my gosh, am I gonna ever figure this out? By day 2, it's like, oh, okay, it's getting easier. Day 3, it's like, oh, okay, time to familiarize myself. Day 4, now it's getting easier and easier and easier.
Exactly. I'll keep to it. I'll complete my 90-day cycle. And the one thing I got to do a little more though is document it. I don't have any day 1 footage, but I can still capture some day 12 footage or something like that.
There you go.
Incorporate that in the final video. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And as for myself, like, there's still a coaching course I still need to complete. And there's still the UX designer course I still need to complete through Coursera. So yeah, I have some catching up to do, and I know I'll be taking a holiday break for a couple weeks, so that could be a good
Mhm.
time to catch up on the coursework and yeah, just do some self care and do some like holiday stuff with family and whatever.
Spark Infinity is going to take a couple weeks off too. So next week's live stream is our last for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But the holiday hangout is going to be cool and possibly even chaotic because we just don't know who is actually going to show up and drop in. But over 10 people have been invited, and we can only have 10 people on the stage at the same time in the StreamYard. So it'll be fun. But it's one of those cases where people can come and go as they choose. So I think we'll handle it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. Yeah. Yeah, I know I have a couple holiday events to attend, 2 or 3. So, yeah, it should be a eventful holiday this year.
I've been either going or setting stuff up already myself. So I've got hangouts with different people at different locations. So I think there's going to be a work-related one. I kept nudging for that. I'm like, let's do a Vancouver Tech Systems get together, and it looks like that's going to happen. So that should be fun too.
Well, that's good. That's good. I know I have something going on this Sunday, and I got a couple of things going on afterwards. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And I know I have at least to have a company event, but that won't be until January though. It was supposed to be on this month, but that's okay. I'm patient, so it'll happen in January. So it's all good. At least I can still celebrate the holidays even afterwards, and still enjoy things. And yeah,
more of a we survived Christmas party, which
exactly
is the kind of parties we used to hold, which were a lot of fun.
Exactly. Just get some t-shirts like, I survived the holidays. Not the show for it is this t-shirt.
Yeah. Is UX design something you were planning to go deeper into and to turn it into a career, or is it more so just an exploration and an extension of your creativity right now?
Both.
Nice.
It's gonna be both because I'm a graphic designer, and I work for a company that they need I design like the stuff for clients, and it'd be good to like take the design to a whole new level and further expand on my career.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that could open up. There's app development, and as you said, it transfers just about everywhere to OS, to software applications for computers. So there's that could definitely be an expanding field.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
In some ways, we're trying to train AI to do that, but I think I mean, that's a nice segue into the topic. I think we need to come back to it anyway. But at this point, what I've seen, Wix will create your website for you. Oh man, did it create something terribly ugly? It was awful. Like, and I'm not saying, I don't know, maybe it could be effective if it got in front of people, but man, to me, it sure looked ugly. Wow.
That's the thing with the, AI and design. It's like it's you use it to create the website in a matter of minutes, but when you look at the end result, it's like, yeah, it looks like a dog's breakfast at the end. It's like, okay, I punch in the prompts, I put instructions to create this content. The content it generated does not make sense or not relevant to what I'm trying to create here, and all the elements are totally off. So you end up having to like fix it or have to redesign it anyway. So what can you do?
Like today on one of the calls, we were kind of sharing what got our attention on social media, and someone was sharing about a student used AI to research a topic, but AI generated a case study that wasn't real. It never happened, and it wasn't factual or story based. So when I know that people are looking at the or at least seeing the disclaimer, that AI makes mistakes. I don't think they understand how often and to what degree and with what consistency it confidently states lies. At this point.
Yeah, like I tried it for different things. It's like, oh, you're just generating the same response over again. You're not giving anything unique or special, or you're telling me this, but I know it's something else. So I don't even know why I even bother to ask AI in the first place.
Well, and that's one of the dangers. I have to say, I know people are more and more using it as search, and I'm like, it's not as good as search. I already demonstrated this in an earlier presentation on the Skeptic's Guide to AI, but I asked where I could go bass fishing in Saskatchewan. And not only did it completely take me down the wrong track, it told me about 3 lakes that don't have any bass in them. And when I Googled it, it said the premier bass fishing spot in Saskatchewan, in fact, it's the only one, is this reservoir. And I was like,
Mm,
so would I want to go off of AI's answer or would I want to go off of Google's answer? Google's answer was simpler, straightforward, direct, actually told me where there are bass. And I'm surprised that there's any bass in Saskatchewan to begin with, but it
mhm,
actually gave me accurate information as far as where they are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That just shows, how inaccurate it is. It's like, how do I create this? Oh, you just do this. It's like, I just followed it. Nothing happened. And
Yep. Step by
yeah,
step processes. I don't know. That
yeah.
said, I do have my favorite tools. I think there's three of them currently, and I do use them on a
Mhm,
weekly basis, if not a daily basis. And I think when I say that, people should know that it's still going through certain filters. It's not like I'm just taking what it generated and throwing it
mhm,
up
mhm.
necessarily. In some
Yeah.
cases, sure. Claude.ai, still
Mhm,
very, very good for various tasks I need,
mhm,
website sales copy.
mhm,
Not on my main site, but I have experimented with having it interview me to write articles for another
mhm,
website.
mhm,
And I feel like that works pretty well.
mhm,
You introduced me to Ideogram, and that's been getting better and better. So
mhm,
for original illustrations and for original graphics in my presentation, my website,
mhm.
sometimes I will use it. It still generates some really funny, freaky stuff sometimes, but um, it at least gives me some usable stuff. And then the other
Mhm.
one is TurboScribe.
Oh.
So far, I've found for transcripts, that's really your best bet. It is affordable. It'll transcribe stuff that's up to 30 minutes. It's quick. It's pretty good as far as accuracy goes. It's never going to be perfect. And
Mhm,
I find a lot of people post inaccurate transcripts on their website anyway, but you can still get the meaning if you read it. So it's not like you're
mm,
completely lost.
mhm,
So
mhm,
it's going to get that job done.
mhm. Yeah, I use Claude as well, and it served me well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So are you an Anthropic fan now versus OpenAI? Are you a convert?
I think so, because
Yeah.
I put stuff in ChatGPT, and it's like it just gives me the same old generic response, or nothing special. It's like, okay, whatever. So,
Uh, Yeah, and if you're saying whatever, you know that if you deliver it to an audience, they're also going like, whatever, not interesting.
exactly.
Yeah,
hmm So yeah, it's like my Claude's the new go-to if I want something a little more specific.
nice.
hmm Like if I'll use ChatGPT if I'm like in a kind of in a rush and I just need some basic response, and otherwise, yeah, no, Claude's the way to go for me.
Are there any other tools you've been experimenting with or any other vistas you've been exploring in AI?
Let me think here. I was doing the whole text to video,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't even remember the name of the platforms anymore. It's been so long.
So you're just
And
messing. They're not all that great. Like I think
yeah,
there's one or two good ones and the rest are questionable.
exactly. If I'm going to use AI for anything, I've been using, whatever Adobe's been offering, like the generative fill, or like in Photoshop, or I'll use, the features in Illustrator to create like a AI generative vector. Like those are examples of me using AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I haven't really used it to create like content in graphic design or anything like that. Like, like text and stuff like that. So I don't think I'm ready to do that yet. I still feel like it's not mature enough to do what it needs to do for my needs. So for
Yeah.
now, I feel like it helps me with like certain features, like certain tasks when I'm doing my photo editing or sort of vector work.
One thing I've been looking for is something for podcast summaries. And I think those Zoom meeting note taker things work pretty well. But I was
hmm
experimenting with some others and it's not impressed. I think one of them was Goldcast and it
hmm
works sort of. But we had that interview with Brendan Hamilton. Was that last week? I think that was last week.
hmm
So it was a great conversation, but I had it summarized. And then for some reason, like I said that he was 6'5", which I think you would automatically know and our listeners would automatically know. I mean, 6'5" right?
hmm
But the Goldcast thought that meant he was 65. And so the summaries and descriptions they created was like, it's never too late to start your supporting your community and chasing your passion. I was like, no. I think I could be mistaken, but I think Brendan's a little younger than all of us in Spark Infinity. He's going to school right now too. So
hmm
I had to laugh. Right. And that's what I mean by inaccurate. It's like to that degree sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that.
No kidding. I don't
Mhm.
want to put that out there. It's like, oh, Brendan's 65 years old. Like, no, that's
I got
not
my
what we're
getting
talking
pension checks.
about.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah.
But, again, you can't help but see and feel the potential.
hmm
I think 2025 could be a defining year as far as
hmm
how much further we take it.
hmm
I know the assumption is, oh, we're just going to take it as far as we can take it and it's going to become the Terminator, right?
hmm
But based on what I know or my research so far, it would seem to indicate huge sums of investment money are going to be pulled from AI in
Hmm.
2025.
Hmm.
We'll see. I could be completely wrong, but
Hmm.
if that is the case, then to what degree can it improve and be developed? Even
Hmm.
OpenAI went from, I don't know, initially 10 employees to 300 and now 3,000.
Wow.
Doesn't that tell you that it can't, like, doesn't that show you that machine learning alone is not enough, that like human involvement is necessary for this thing to even
Yes,
work?
for sure. Definitely.
So that's just me putting the pieces together in
Hmm.
my own mind. But I know that's an aspect of, you could say ENFJ, INFJ. I think I lean a little more towards the ENFJ, but
Hmm.
connect the dots. But that
Hmm.
sometimes that drives people nuts, man. They don't like
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Were you an INFJ as well, or something
In terms
along
of
those lines?
the personality, you mean?
Yeah, I guess it's like Myers Briggs or whatever.
It was the INTJ or something like that. I don't even
Oh yeah,
remember.
INTJ sounds right. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, so similar,
Hmm.
but there's a
Yeah.
thinking part versus a feeling part.
Yeah. Definitely. All
Gotcha.
right.
Well, here's your soapbox, Karlo. Is there anything else you'd like to share or anything else you'd like to discuss before we call this a day?
Well, just may 2025 be prosperous, and may 2024 be may everybody like complete powerfully, and
Yeah,
move on to the new year. Feeling good, feeling prosperous, and that's all I have to share.
awesome. Are there
All
any
right.
projects you'd like to plug or anything coming up with your
Mm,
website or otherwise?
not at the moment. I'm just laying low and taking it easy.
Yeah, me too. I am actually trying to take the holidays a little bit easier right now and then come
Mm-hmm.
back to it fresh, which is not
Mm-hmm.
how I usually went about it. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm done trying to bulldoze through, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for people to hand off things to now more and more. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about that being
Mm-hmm.
2025 being a increased year of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well,
All right.
hopefully we'll see you at the holiday hangout, but for sure, I think we'll see a few of our Spark Infinity leaders or a couple of our Spark Infinity leaders there, and who knows who else might show up. It'll be a fun, exciting time. So
Mm-hmm.
for all of you watching and listening, we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on another live stream. Thanks for watching. As a creator myself, I know how hard it can be to make your goals and dreams a reality. I'm here to help you share your work, build a fan base, and turn your passion into profit. Now, sometimes I don't hit it out of the park with my content, and I know that, but trust me, I am listening. So if you stick with me, sometimes I totally strike out, but if you stick with me, I promise I'm going to deliver the kind of stuff that's going to help you get to where you want to go, because I'm always listening. If I can ask you to do something real quick, it only takes a second. If you could subscribe to this channel, it makes all the difference in the world. I'm going to be delivering more great stuff for you. And like I said, some of it might miss the mark a bit, but as much as possible, I'm trying to bring you what you need to make your career a success. So subscribe now. Thank you so much for watching.